Hidden Object Guru here, joined by...
The Unabridged Gamer.
And yes, we both played the Stellar Blade demo, which is presumably why I've put footage of Stellar Blade on the screen right now while I'm saying this. I'm not doing all this while physically playing the demo, so, you know, I have no idea what's on screen right now. In the future I will, but for now, it's a mystery.
Well, we know for certain that someone with an incredibly shiny butt is probably on screen.
Those
That's
are,
like, you know, the one certainty with this game.
I would argue that these are some of the shiniest butts that have appeared in any game. I mean, literally, you would have to go to Virtua Fighter and Doral, the villain Doral, to get a shinier butt than was featured in this game. Ah, that's a deep cut, right? Nobody remembers that the boss of Virtua Fighter was a lady made out of silver. Yeah, well, I remember. Okay, so...
My father was very obsessed with 5, so now I'm remembering him trying to unlock her for the longest time. It was like the only game he played for the longest time.
Okay, so there you go. My thing about this is, so I found out about this game, I think the same time everybody else did, which is when it was revealed, when it had its big reveal moment at the exact same PlayStation, promotional event that I was watching to find out about Until Dawn. Because, yeah, I only really care about supermassive games and, you know, the various spin-offs of remakes of supermassive games. But there was also an ad for this thing, which is about a lady with a sword in her hair. Not a sword made out of hair. This is not Bayonetta. It is a sword that she keeps in her hair as a hair accessory, and then she fights a lot of mutants in an ersatz version of Lost Planet. So, thoughts?
I feel like, to be generous, I want to start with, the positives. So, here's my pros list. The music.
Okay, yeah.
And, the music.
Oh, no! You see why I would use Lost Planet as a touch point, though, right? You're fighting weird mutants in a post-apocalyptic Earth, just like in Lost Planet?
I think that's an interesting point to take away. My main takeaway from this is... this is going to sound meaner than I intended, but it's literally the only point of reference I have is... You remember in Beyond Two Souls, when it randomly tries to be Metal Gear Solid for that one bit? And it's like someone fundamentally didn't really understand what makes Metal Gear good when it is good. This is like that for me as someone who loved Nier in 2010 and is looking at this and it's like all of the really over-the-top things that they stuck in Automata so that people would finally pay attention to Nier, that's the only stuff that's left. All the, depth and interesting characters and, clever subversions that you don't see coming from 15 miles away like you have a, immensely powerful telescope. All of that is just gone. And in its place is just, this very awkward shell of a thing where, we've both played this demo to the end, and I can earnestly say it's almost a checklist for cliches. Because here's the thing. Right before, Stellar Blade was even a thing, for Pressy for Everything, I looked at a VR title called Soul Covenant.
Okay.
And so many of the same writing cliches, like, oh no, my squad died, I am sad. And we have to stop all the mutants, and the using biblical terms all over the place for things just because.
Yeah, I was kind of embarrassed to watch that. Yeah.
I want to put a moratorium on Japanese developers being able to use the names Adam and Eve in literally any context. I feel like this would be an interesting artistic challenge.
They're the only two humans on Earth. Get it? Do you get it?
It's just I mean, I really wanted to give this game a shot because everyone kept telling me, and I kept seeing it, and even like the press coverage. It's so Nier. It's so much like Nier, and I am all for games that are like Nier, but Nier isn't like a genre style. Hell, Nier literally becomes a text adventure at one point in the 2010 entry. Like, it is about a mood and storytelling style. And that ain't this.
Well, I think that when they say honestly, Nier, they mean they are the Nier aesthetic. Not even the Nier aesthetic, the Nier Automata aesthetic. That is what they mean when they say this is Nier.
Yeah, because that's the one that people actually played instead of... That's the one that people remember. I mean, they even remade the 2010 one as Nier Replicant. It's very good.
Yep.
And still, people just think of the Lolita dress and fighting giant monstrosities. Yeah, it just... I'm not trying to come out so hard and fast on this, but like, the combat just feels like it's like 5 degrees off of where everything should be timed for most of the combat.
So I'm going to actually say that I had a similar feeling on the combat to you. Whereas I'm playing the combat and I'm like, is there something wrong with my capture card? Is there like some kind of a delay happening with the controls? Because I can't seem to hit any of these perfect dodges and perfect parries that they want me to do. So I just, I popped on Dark Souls and it worked fine. So, like, I think it's actually the game's timing that's off. Which is something I'm not used to. Well,
here's the thing. You know what I figured out was the solution?
Okay.
Mash whichever button you're trying to use for the entire window you're trying to use it. Like, for the dodge, for the parry. Consistently, this actually worked for me.
Oh, wow.
And it felt like I was cheating because... Like, even something that's really generous to its player, like the Jedi series from Respawn, typically would be like, no, that you can't just do that.
You can't just spam.
Which, yeah, it's a really, really weird decision to make.
So I don't know, honestly, I don't know how much of these are decisions they were making. I think it might have just, they fumbled into that. Like, for example... Here's something I ran into that I have never seen in a game before, right? So there is a perfect dodge in this game, right? And the perfect dodge, if you do it, things slow down and there's a red flash and you backflip away from your enemy, automatically missing the weapon. And then you can press triangle to do a revenge attack and swoop in and attack the guy. And this is the part that baffled me. After you finish the perfect dodge, you have no invincibility frames, and your revenge attack does not stagger or interrupt the enemy. So, on numerous occasions, I would perfect dodge the first hit of a combo, and then he would keep doing the combo as I did my revenge attack, and so I'd do my revenge attack, do a little damage, and then I would just get hit for the next 2 hits of the combo. Like,
yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
That happened to you too, right?
Yeah, there is very few instances. The only instances that I can see where you can actually stun the enemy is when you're using your beta abilities, which require multiple parries to charge up or a lot of hacking and slashing to charge up.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just really weird because, like... I want to preface this here that the example I'm giving, this is a game that I did enjoy, but like, it's like a worse Gotham Knights, because Gotham Knights has that with a certain few enemies where if you don't use a certain ability, it can be harder to defeat them. They expect you to build up the combo meter and whatever, and so that you can use, like, drop a stun grenade if you're Batgirl, or fire off a certain cool pistol shot if you're Red Hood.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take nearly as long in Gotham Knights to build those up because they know that that's important. And also, you can otherwise actually still stun your enemies. Like, it's not this rare privilege. And it just...
Well, yeah, I was shocked by how difficult it is to stagger enemies, because, and this is, like, I play Musos all the time, I play Brawlers, I play Souls-likes. I don't know of any game where the enemies are as resistant to being staggered as the characters are in this game. Like, I'll be fighting 4 of those weird guys with the tail whips at once, and every attack I do, it's like they're barely reacting to it, and they just muscle on ahead with their attacks. Like, if you want there to be an uninterruptible attack, that's fine. You know, give me a special animation. Give me a special animation. Give me a color flash. Let me know that it's time for me to dodge or do a super parry or something like that. But I would say, to my eyes, the vast majority of enemy attacks in this game are uninterruptible.
I think I finally figured it out.
Oh, please.
I figured out what this game actually is, as opposed to what I think it wants to be. Because, yeah, I think it wants to be Nier, but I finally figured out what its true parallel is.
Please.
This is if someone tried to staple Souls-like elements onto the Force Unleashed.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I hadn't thought about that, but you're completely right.
Like the linear level design that's really not great at times at conveying where you're supposed to go, and the upgrade system that more seems like it's in the way of you just being able to do things that you'd think in most action games you could do without having to grind for.
Yeah.
The ridiculously melodramatic storytelling. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's Souls-like. It absolutely is Souls-like Force Unleashed, where you never feel as powerful as you should be. That said, I did load up the story version of the combat, and it still has big issues with enemies not being interruptible and not getting staggered and things like that. Like, a lot of that is still a problem, but I will say this, one good thing about that mode is, and this is something I don't know if you tried at all, that when enemies do any kind of a super attack, you will get a time slowdown and a QTE window to do your super parry or your super dodge. So there's that.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that's just it. It's like that, and
it's something.
You know, it's something, and it's like, again, it's a weird thing. It's like, I really appreciate the sound design and the orchestral score, because so much they were carrying this, because I'm thinking the noise when your sword flashes is actually better timed than the flash itself. So that's how I was able to handle, pulling off the super dodge. Although that means that it's not going to be super accessible for people who, can't hear.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah, the color on the super dodge where you get behind an enemy to attack, the instant transmission or whatever it is. Yeah, the timing on that's really weird. Like, to the point where I found it very difficult. Like, you wanna help me do this move. Even when I was doing the training of the move, he would do the super dodge, his weapon lights up, that's time to do your super dodge, your sword flashes, and I would press forward and the dodge button, and then he would be like, you pressed slightly left and forward in the dodge button, so we're gonna just have you dodge to the side and then immediately get hit by him and caught anyway. I'm like, really? You can't meet me halfway on this controller input, guys? I think it's clear you knew what I meant to press, right?
Yeah, it is extremely weird, especially because, like, for a game that wants to be so over the top, it can't seem to decide if it wants you to actually be over the top or not, because, yeah, like, the normal dodge does such a minimal amount of dodging that it's like the sidestep in Witcher 3. It barely does anything.
Yeah, and you can't chain them in a meaningful way. Like, is this flashy Bayonetta-style combat, or is it not? Like, I've had better luck chaining dodges in a Dark Souls game than I did in this thing.
My question here is this, and this is what I mean when I say I don't understand what this game is actually trying to be, is, did you notice in the skill tree system that there's a stealth takedown move?
I did.
Yeah, I have no idea how I'm supposed to do it, because the one time I got it to pop up, it actually appeared way further from the enemy than I expected, and then vanished within another second, and seemingly alerted the enemy to me. But it's just like, none of this gameplay indicates stealth. There is no crouch stance or anything.
No crouch stance, no way to move slowly. Yeah, she always sprints at full speed, no matter what she's doing. Yeah, if ever a game wasn't going to have a stealth kill, it was definitely going to be this one. So I was as baffled by that as anyone.
Plus, and I know this is another, would seem like a weird thing to bring up, but again, this game wants to be so over the top half of the time, but then you get to like the platforming bit, and she can't even do like a full somersault kind of thing around a pipe when she's leaping from them like Lara Croft. Really? This like combat android who's got like all these badass inner mechanisms can't do something that a fairly decent gymnast can pull off?
Well, one thing I noticed there, and it's like, how are you getting this so wrong? There's this point where they want you to jump onto a rooftop, then jump down to a series of pipes to climb up a broken ladder out of a pool, right? And the first jump, I ran to the ledge, I jumped off, and they're like, you jumped too far and you missed the pipe. How is it possible to miss the pipe? I walked to the ledge you wanted me to. I pushed forward. I pushed jump. Like, should not the game be taking over at this point? This isn't Tomb Raider 1 where you have to get to the right part of the rectangle to jump to the next part of the rectangle. This is a modern video game with theoretically cinematic platforming. It should not be possible to miss these jumps.
Yeah, there's several instances of that. Plus, when you actually get to the pool of water and there's the multiple pieces of cardboard, the only reason I was able to actually traverse it the entire way is because I had figured out that when you're in the air, pressing dodge gives you like this weird little extra fart of air, and that's literally the only way I can describe it, because there's no context given. Far as I could tell, they never actually told me in-game this move even existed, but it was clearly crucial for reaching the next point and moving forward.
Oof.
But there's actually still a more damning thing of, I feel like certain departments just weren't talking to each other. Because, You see, I get that the whole story premise with Adam and Eve is that he's been on Earth all this time, she's just gotten here.
Yeah.
And, so she's more of a fish out of water, and he's having to explain things, so he explains the basic concept of a base camp to her.
Yeah.
Except, in the demo, right before you face the final boss of the demo, you then have her find a base camp with, the one little upgrade station and everything, and he's surprised by, what is this? And she's explaining the concept of a base camp to him. How can each character know and not know what up? This is...
Yeah.
Come on!
You're not
This is
wrong.
something that should have come up.
Yeah. You should have a line of dialogue from him. She should be frustrated at the first base camp that she can't work with her equipment, and he should say, well, what you should be looking for is a blah, 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 some nonsense word thing. That technology should be compatible with what you're using. I'm sure you'll find one deeper into the city center. And then she should find that and say, this is exactly it. And you're right, I can use my nanotech blah blah blahs to work with this. That's easy enough to do. That's not a complicated thing to have happen in the story. But, they don't know to need to explain that. You're right. There's a complete disconnect over which character is supposed to know what.
Yeah,
and it's genuinely weird.
This is what I mean when I say it feels like departments weren't talking to each other. It is... because there are parts here and there that can be very good presentationally in terms of VFX, sound effects, scoring. They did a really, really good job. And while I personally think that Eve's outfit, I have friends who are into fashion. They've shown me some cool outfits over the years. This is not really as fancy and elegant as, I think the developers seem to think it is. It actually, like there's some way cooler things. And that's in a world where Bayonetta exists. Like every single game, that woman has looked fabulous. And here we just have someone running around basically in a skin-tight jumpsuit with lots of gloss applied.
I need to understand
like she's wearing a candy wrapper.
That is not a bad description. Why she has floppy dragonfly wings on her back that are attached to a collar from which she is wearing a tie. Like, nothing about this outfit made sense to me. And now, to be fair, there are apparently like a dozen outfits in the game. And if you watch the trailer at the end, I know you didn't did you beat the boss?
I did beat the boss. I did see the trailer, yes.
All right, good. Because at the trailer at the end, like, there is going to be a wide variety of costumes, including, like, just a yellow tracksuit at one point. So, this costume was a weird one to be, like, her definitive, this is the character model. I don't understand why she was soaking wet when she came out of her pod at the beginning of the game. And that baffled the hell out of me. Like, why is the drop pod filled with water? That didn't make a lick of sense. And that only then do her nanites turn on and suddenly she's wearing the suit. It's a very weird introduction to the character and the costume, but I think there must have been a better costume in the game to demonstrate and to start the character with than this one. Because this is a very weird costume that, I agree with you, doesn't look great.
Plus, this is something we were marveling about before we even started talking. It was just like, there is a ponytail setting, and you know what? I actually had to use it. I had to trim the friggin' ponytail.
You have to shorten
so long.
you have to shorten it. You're right. Like, it actually obscures the action. It distracts you and it obscures the action. Her hair is so long in the default mode. It's ridiculous. If you shorten the ponytail, it's actually much easier to see what's going on. You know me. I don't have any strong feelings on the yellow paint discourse. I don't really care. You want to slather a yellow paint everywhere, that's fine. I played the climbing VR game for PSVR 2. You know, the climbing VR game for Horizon. Right? Horizon.
Call of the Mountain?
Call of the Mountain. Really liked it. And they found a very cute way to do the yellow paint thing, which is all of these places you're going are places that plenty of people have climbed, so people who climb are constantly dusting their hands with rosin, so all of the handholds are marked with the white chalk that people have already left as they climb these places. It's nice, right? It works fine. Here, what puzzled me is, I don't understand why there's both, like, yellow paint and a detective mode. Because you can click on the detective mode, and the detective mode shows everything that's climbable. And, like, isn't it better to do, like I said, I don't have a problem with the yellow paint thing. But if you've got a detective mode, just make it so after the detective mode fades, all of the climbing interactables stay highlighted for an extra 10 seconds. Like, that's all you have to do.
That would be sensible.
I've seen other games do that, you know?
I have suspicion that the detective mode may have itself been like a band-aid because
it's
at
so
first as I was going
to tell
down
where you're supposed to go in this game.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, I am usually pretty good at navigating games. I feel like that's a fair thing to say about myself, and in this particular case, I constantly was just going, let's try over here. Nope, I can't open that door. I particularly love that, again, we're playing this extremely strong shield maiden woman, and she can't break a chain link fence.
Yeah, that was weird. Like, my sword will cut through a giant robot. Chain link fence? I don't think so, though. No. That's old-timey Earth technology. She can only fight giant robots made with some kind of alien tissue paper technology. Earth, stainless steel? Nope, that's not going anywhere, baby. Like, what? That's bonkers.
Also, Did the whole exploding barrels mechanic just seem useless to you too? Because I tried to use it in combat and it never seemed to pay off.
No, because you hit the exploding barrel. Like, I don't understand. Let me, like, knock the barrel at a guy, pick it up and throw it, or, like, throw a guy into the barrel. But you would have to, like, hit the barrel and then dodge away from the barrel and just hope that the enemy wandered close to the barrel when it exploded. I mean, I got it to work once with the boss, where I got him to charge me, and miraculously, why now? Miraculously, he didn't knock all the barrels aside when he normally does. His attack stopped just before the barrels, so I hit the barrels, I dodged away, he turned to face me, and then, like, they did a third of his damage, like, a huge amount of his hit points, like a third of the damage as he turned away. But that was complete luck, because normally when the boss is there, he hits the barrels and they just go flying all around the map and they don't hurt him at all. So yeah, like, the barrel mechanic was not great. I've already said what I have to say about how the staggering doesn't work, the timing on the dodging and the parrying seems odd. There's another big thing about the combat that bothered me. Oh right, shielded enemies. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
What was that? The most annoying thing in the world? When was the last time? And the only way to
break it is another beta move.
I know, right? Another beta move, which good luck charging that while fighting a shielded enemy. Oh, God. You know, oh, well, you need to hit him a bunch to charge. But he's got a shield, so I can't hit him. Yep, tough luck. It's like there are interlocking systems here, developers, and you're not seeing that. Oh my god, yeah, that was frustrating. That was really frustrating. So, do you want to hear the most embarrassing thing, though? Now, to be fair, I found a menu option to fix this. Alright, so... and I blame them for placing the on second for 3 screens tutorial about how to pick up items. Right? During a fight. So basically, the first time you have a chance to pick something up, it's going to tell you how to pick things up. But that's going to happen the first time you kill somebody, and the first time you kill somebody, there's 2 other guys to kill at the same time. So you might be too busy fighting them, as I was, to notice on the screen that it said, press R2 to pick things up. Which, by the way, how insane is it to make R2 the button to pick things up? So it's like the first half of the demo, I didn't know I could pick stuff up. I kept trying to pick stuff up, and it never occurred to me to try the R2 button to do it. Now, in the menu, there is a auto pick up all resources toggle. But my question is, why isn't that set to on automatically?
I actually turned that on literally when I first started the game. My immediate thought was, okay, I want to check settings. Is there anything weird here? But it's funny you mentioned that, because there's also an option in the settings that's like, do you want autocomplete for QTEs? And I'm like, yes, please, always. And then it didn't autocomplete the QTEs. So I'm glad that at least auto loot works. But yes, that should just be on by default. No one likes repeatedly mashing a button to pick up everything. So I'm completely there with you. I'm glad that there's at least an auto loot option, but yeah, you shouldn't have to dig into something to find that.
Yeah, it's inexcusable that's not defaulted to on. But another thing that weirded me out was it's just not describing stuff well. So you get to the point where you have to take the fusion engine out of a car to open the door to a library. And so I walk up to the car, and the hint is, open the hood of the car to get the fusion engine. And I'm like, okay, what button am I supposed to press to open? Like, the way you phrase that suggests that I'm supposed to be doing an interaction here. But no prompt is coming up, and none of the buttons are doing it. And yeah, you're supposed to slash the car until the hood explodes. But you don't make that clear in your description of what you're telling me to do here. And I think that's a real problem. Like, this game is not explaining itself well at all. Yeah, like, I found it deeply frustrating.
And it's a shame, too, because the one thing that I will say, one last nice thing is, I didn't hate the final boss. By comparison to most of the other enemies, it actually felt like someone had at least tried to put effort into better hinting at, hey, he's winding up the attack.
Oh yeah, he
now.
telegraphs way better. Totally. The telegraphing works better, the timing works better, but I will say this, you really do notice the game, like, you having the inability to chain dodges when fighting him.
Yeah.
Because he'll do that attack where he just does a flurry of homing things at you, and I should be chain dodging these, but I dodge the first one, and then dodge goes some kind of weird cooldown, and there's no invincibility frame, so I just get hit by the next few. I'm like, come on, guys. Like, do I have to unlock chain dodges in a menu somewhere?
Given all the kinds of other things you have to unlock, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, it's the inverse of Mirror's Edge Catalyst, where there they at least had the common sense eventually to realize, wow, we actually can't lock most of this off from the player, or it's going to feel terrible. Whereas here, they seem very, very committed to actually making sure that, yeah, no, you really can't do much of anything. And
until you unlock everything.
By the way, which was, again, an issue with The Force Unleashed as well, where you didn't even have the full core moveset until you were 2/3 of the way through the game.
I did enjoy cutting things in half in this. I'm constantly slashing dudes in half. I like that. That's what The Force Unleashed was missing, so it was great to see it here.
But, I just, speaking to the car thing, for me, I put on, while we're talking about this, someone else playing the demo, because I'm curious to see just, like, how someone else perceived it. You remember how I said that there's the bit with the water puzzle where I had to use the air dash fart move?
Yeah, of course.
Apparently that's not the intended solution. The intended solution is swim in the water and doggy paddle push one of the cardboard pieces up against the ladder so that you can mantle up.
Oh. Okay.
That is really weird.
That is very, very strange. Okay. I had no idea. All right.
Yeah, it's just I would assume that was like a glitch or something, but from all appearances, that is actually the intent, because there are proper reasons for an area. That is... Oh, okay. My head hurts more now. My head is hurting more now, trying to just process all of that. And one caveat I will say against the music is, while I did enjoy it, it is repetitive.
Right.
Like, I get that we're in a specific zone, but at a certain point, maybe just a slight variation, or like maybe make it get quieter, something to make sure that you're not hearing the same song on loop over and over and over till the end of time. It's something that I really feel like might have occurred to somebody.
That would have been nice. I'm not going to disagree with you there. It's Nier.
And I feel so bad because it's a new IP.
It is. It is a new IP. They're trying something here. But the problem is, the thing they're trying was already made almost a decade ago, and it was better then. Like, is this... along with Dragon's Dogma 2, where it's like... is this the year of people doing weirdly unambitious and not thought through mechanical, like, rehashes? Because this is just Nier Automata if they didn't quite understand what made the exploration and combat in Nier Automata work. And Dragon's Dogma 2 is, what if we just double down on all of the most annoying parts of Dragon's Dogma a decade later? That would be a weird choice, and I wouldn't be on board with it, is the answer. So
I haven't gotten to Dogma yet, so I can't speak to their... actually, you know what? I was reminded of one more thing, even though I extremely doubt that Shift Up is listening to this video, but please, if they are, the enemy basically gets to do a finishing move on you attack thing. Maybe don't time it in such a way that basically next to no dodge moves except for the perfect dodge allow for someone to get around it, because especially early on in the demo, before I unlocked the perfect dodge, I legitimately was thinking that the game was broken because you have balanced your game in such a way that it feels like you are fundamentally being punished for something you have no control over.
Yeah, that instant death, I mean, the fatal attack move, or whatever they call it, it's ridiculous how long a range they all have and how impossible they are to get out of the way. You can't interrupt it, you can basically not dodge it, you sure as hell can't parry it. So, like, the minute he starts that move, before you get the blink dodge, like, before you unlock the blink dodge, literally all you could do is, like, go into sprint mode and run away from it. Which is not the kind of thing you should be doing in a game like this. That is not something I should be doing. Running away from my foe should not be my priority in this thing. But that's exactly what they want to do.
Brave Sir Robin, bravely running away.
What else am I supposed to... what else am I supposed to believe is the goal here, other than flee? Yeah, I mean, I'm considering playing some Stellar Blade, but today, personally, I'm going back to a little thing called Robin Hood Sherwood Builders, where, and I can't stress this enough, Robin Hood is just constantly chopping off dudes' heads. Like, you have no idea how many dudes' heads I've chopped off as Robin Hood in this game. I would say a good 20% of the game's fights end with me chopping a dude's head off. And it's a Robin Hood game. That's crazy, and I love it. I know, it's not what you're expecting out of a Robin Hood game. Lots of decapitation and severed limbs. But yeah, chopping off arms, chopping off heads. Robin Hood is just a brutal sword fighter in this, and it's so thrilling. But yes, Robin Hood, Sherwood Builders. Check it out.
I, for one, am just thinking, it's great to hear that Robin, is continuing to open hearts and minds.
Oh my god. All right, so, yes, thank you for joining me to talk Stellar Blade. Maybe we'll be back to talk about the full game. Depends if Sony wants to send us a copy. They're not going to. Sony does not send out copies to people like us, but, no harm in asking.
Yeah, it's not even about the size, it's about the fact that we said something not nice about the demo.
Yeah, it's 100% true. And I mean, I am on record being very hard on a little game called Returnal as well, so I don't have the best, reputation with them vis-a-vis their original IPs. That said, I was very mean about Returnal, a game that I have beaten, I think, 11 times. Like, I actually love Returnal.
My word.
I love that game, but I think it has real problems with getting people on board. And so, like, unless you have a personality problem like I do, I don't think you're going to get the most out of Returnal. And I think they could have done a lot to help people play. But since I like to be positive, I just told everybody to play Robin Hood Sherwood Builders. I would like you to give everybody just a recommendation of something they can genuinely enjoy, since they might not like Stellar Blade that much.
Yeah, it's a good melee combat game that's going on right now. Actually, speaking of ones that definitely you will enjoy if you do have some kind of neurodivergence like us, I'm going to shout out Wanted Dead, which recently just got an anniversary update that actually did a bunch of balancing things, because while it is a really neat brawler shooter, and I do mean that, it's not like Warhammer 40k Space Marine where it's a shooter that happens to have brawling mechanics. This is a game that's about hacking and slashing that happens to have guns in it, where the pistol is essentially your stun attack.
Yeah.
That's why it has infinite ammo.
The crazy part is, people didn't understand how Bloodborne it was, Like, it was obviously Bloodborne influenced, and people didn't talk about that. And had it been contextualized, all of its advertising, people thought it was a shooter and they didn't understand why am I constantly being asked to, use a sword on guys in this game that's all about dudes with assault rifles. And the answer is, because it's Bloodborne. The guns are there to soften up and distract enemies so you can do combos to them. It's a very interesting game.
Yes.
I'm right there with you.
So, that's just like, that's my wholehearted recommendation. And yes, the storytelling is a bit weird, but I mean it here. If you liked Metal Gear Solid, you can't tell me that this is any weirder than that.
No, okay, I'll give you that one. All right. So, join us back here for whatever it is we're talking about next time. But until then, I'm going to say that's right. Au revoir.